Hi there, my name is Dan, and welcome back to All One, the United Anatomy of Being. This is episode 7. It's the beginning of part 1 of the primary content of the United Anatomy of Being, which is called the body, the soul, and the whole. And we're going to start with an episode on truth. Because ultimately, what there is to be learned from increased consciousness are truths. Truths of the parts, truths of the whole, and truths of the universe and our existence in it. There are truths on all levels of existence, but it takes development of the right tools and levels to be able to perceive certain truths. For example, our physical tools for perception, or our 5 senses, do not have the capability to perceive mind-level truths. We can't touch or see or hear our thoughts. Similarly, our mental tools of perception, which is thought primarily, do not have the capability to perceive heart-level truths. We can think about our feelings, and our thinking can affect our feelings, just as physical sensing can affect both our thoughts and our feelings. But thoughts and feelings are not the same. However, the mind and heart are extremely connected because they are energy levels that are directly correspond to the 2 fundamental separating and uniting energy categories that highly interact and are required for anything physical to be. Because of this inextricable energetic interaction and dependence, the mind can understand truth of the heart, but only once they are first felt in or perceived by the heart. Similarly, the tools of perception of the heart are not quite capable of perceiving the complete soul-level truth, at least not until they are first perceived by and activated on the soul level. This is all going to start to make more and more sense as we start to put these puzzle pieces together. But this is all important to consider because the information that's going to be presented here can only be presented using words from the mind level perspective. So just as reading or hearing about feelings may contribute to a mental understanding of feelings, the reading or listening doesn't create an actual feeling. So this is an attempt to provoke thought and create understanding in the mind about increasing consciousness and better understand the whole of our being. Feelings may be evoked on the heart level, but not in the same way that a piece of great art like a painting or a novel or a poem or a song or a movie is intended to primarily evoke feeling and create actual emotion. Similarly, reading about or hearing about the less understood or less experienced parts of being will not create a direct experience of them. However, it may create the curiosity and will to try. So there are truths that simply are whether there is thought about them or not, and whether there is awareness of them or not. On the physical level, things move constantly through cycles. They rise and fall, and it often continues over and over and over again. A blade of grass does not have to think about itself rejuvenating in the spring after a dormant winter. It doesn't have to think about turning green and thriving in the summer. It doesn't have to think about slowing growth through autumn, and it certainly doesn't have to think about ultimately bowing down into dormancy through winter until it all happens again. It just happens. It simply is. And anything that is true, whether a human pays attention, cares, accepts, or has any consciousness of it at all. Our blood flows through our bodies. We breathe. We grow up until we apex around the middle of our lives and then begin to fall down. It all happens naturally and truthfully without a requirement for knowledge or awareness of it. There was a long time ago when humans or human predecessors did not think much about existence or how and why it operates. Like any other animal species, some of which have successfully existed for hundreds of millions of years, there was solely action to survive, or very rudimentary thought to solve survival problems. But thought, at whatever level it existed hundreds of thousands of years ago for Homo sapiens, or millions of years ago for hominids, was essentially nothing compared to the way we view human thought now. Basic survival for any animal, even those with a brain, was driven much more by instinct and physical adaptation. But again, humans are different than any other animal on the planet. And it's not hard to agree that human beings developed an incredibly greater capacity for thought than any other species, because all evidence indicates that truth. As humans began to slowly develop the mind, they slowly began to observe, learn, contemplate, and understand and remember an abundance of truths. As a simple example, and development that may have initiated our hominid ancestors' differentiation from other animals, imagine the first hominids to pick up natural tools like a rock or a stick. When the value of these tools was discovered, valuable truths were quickly learned. Some sticks break more easily than others. Some are heavier and more solid than others and are therefore more effective. They learned that most rocks were even harder, stronger, and more effective in certain situations than a stick. They learned that depending on what they intended to hit, a stick that could break could still be a better choice. If they were attempting to hit a moving target that they could get close to, it could be less awkward and more effective to swing a stick that could break rather than a large, heavy stone. They learned that long sticks could be used to avoid getting too close to a target that might be dangerous. They learned that thrown stones could hit a target without getting that close at all. And eventually, they learned that attaching a stone to a stick could be even more effective for certain uses than either on its own. So the capability to recognize truths of the physical world is not unique to humans or human-like beings that existed before us. It's available to any being with a mind and the capacity for memory, regardless of that mind's capacity. For example, imagine an animal who encounters a potential food source that is completely new to it. If that food were to make the animal violently ill, the animal would remember and forever avoid it. Or, as another example, step outside your front door every morning at the same time to scatter nuts for the squirrels, and you'll soon find that they're waiting for you when you open the door. The primary point here is that truths exist regardless of whether they are discovered, learned, or even accepted. Awareness of truth is not a requirement for truth, but awareness of truth can highly affect and improve experience, probability of survival, and ultimately happiness. And humans have the most highly developed minds, the greatest capacity for learning, and an immensely greater capacity for individual consciousness than any other life form of which we are aware. And humans have been seeking the truth for the purpose of improved existence and experience since the beginning of our existence. But not all truths are so simple to learn or easy to accept, particularly if they do not appear to directly affect our experience or our existence. And many truths are difficult to accept until they are either directly experienced personally or indirectly and irrefutably proven by others. So sometimes even that is not enough. Humans, as history has proved, often resist truth. But resistance will not make a truth untrue. Here's another example. For thousands of years, humans believed without a doubt that they lived at the center of the universe. They could see the sun and the moon and the stars traveling around them very similarly each day or night. But the accepted truth that Earth is the center of the universe was far from correct. It took thousands of years of individual and collective development, but in the 1500s, astronomers, or more specifically Copernicus, postulated correctly that the Earth is not the center of the universe. And as is often the case with new ideas, it was not the first time this idea was put forth, just the first time it could be effectively demonstrated. So Copernicus discovered, or at least is credited with discovering, as was mathematically proven shortly after by Galileo, that we, or Earth, along with a few other planets, actually revolve around the sun. It was a blasphemous idea and claim at the time, pardon me. Yet this heliocentric model was an important discovery of truth by one man that went against all previous human thought and belief. The discovery is often cited as the critical development towards the entire scientific method, which has since become a critical mind level method for discovering truth. But at the time, most who were exposed to the idea could or would not believe it, particularly those in power who had something to lose being wrong about their own claims on existence. Most who were exposed to the idea wouldn't accept it, and more so, most humans would have no idea about it for at least another century. Yet, it was true, and it is true. This is a simple example of resistance to the acceptance of truths, particularly if they go against long-standing beliefs. But of course, we now know that the moon revolves around the Earth and planets revolve around the sun revolves around the center of our galaxy, and galaxies, well, they're constantly moving and likely revolve around something too. But truth leads to greater understanding, and discovery and acceptance of truth leads to discovery and acceptance of new truths, which is very important to the human mind and the human experience. Understanding how difficult it can be to accept new truths, particularly if they dispel beliefs in the process, is extremely helpful in recognizing that what we think we know or what we believe may not actually be true. Undoubtedly, beliefs are very important in the absence of truth because they help us to reconcile understanding of that which we don't know, and they help direct or guide our actions and behaviors. But beliefs and opinions, again, should always be open to change because the truth does not change without some conditional change. Truth is a compass. Truth provides direction. Why pick up the dry, rotten stick to defend yourself if there is a solid, unrotten one right next to you? And humans are well on their way to understanding truths at the physical level of our existence because we are well on the way to the development of the mind. Of course, there is still an immense opportunity for discovery, but there are truths of existence that can only be realized with the development of our higher level perceptual tools. And just as it took development and activization of the mind to better understand the physical world, and therefore continuously improve our experience and existence, humans will better understand the physical world and the mind when we further develop and activate the heart. And ultimately, we will even better understand the physical world, the mind, and the heart when we further develop and activate consciousness of the soul, or our highest level of being. The benefit of gaining truth on each of these progressing levels is that they will be the source for greater and greater understanding of our full existence, and thus a continually more accurate compass directing better decisions, better results, and better experiences for the human individual, humanity, and all that is affected by human action. So thank you very much. In the next episode, we're going to discuss more about the interaction of the levels of being. And again, hang in there. We're just dusting off puzzle pieces. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. you.